4 goes into 2 0 times. Now, the thing with decimals, though, is that you can't just put an X in the places in the front that don't have a number. You need to put 0. And what I always have told students in the past is to move the decimal up right away and then erase this so that you're not confused now. Because now I know I have a decimal in my next space. So now what do I need to do? Bring the 4 down like we've been doing every other problem. Bring the 4 down. How many times is 4 going to 24? So the decimal goes straight up in the problem. Now, set D F, H, J, and I are a little different. And they also, in the teacher's book, show one way. And on here, they show a different way, which I don't understand the way they showed at the top of the page on B. I'm not sure why they would divide it twice by 10. But if you look at it, you have your number, 2 4/10, divided by 40. Now, this can get a little complicated, so I kind of like the way they broke this down. Tell me one way you can make 40. I got a lot of people not paying attention, and you're going to have to do an assignment over this, so you might want your eyeballs up here. Nathan, tell me how I can make 40. 10 times 4. So I could also say that I have this number, 2 4/10, right? Because to make 40, you have 4 times 10, right? So the first thing you want to do is divide by 10. Well, what do you do with a number when you divide by 10? What happens to my decimal? What happens with my decimal? Number 3. What happens with my decimal when I divide by 10? Which way? To the left, how many places? Okay, because there's 1, 0, and 10. So what I would suggest you doing is you just write it like this. Write it just like this. And what's that going to look like then if I move it back one place to the left? Now, that's a little more manageable, right? Otherwise, you have had to add zeros or whatever to the problem. Now you can put it in your box if you want, or you can just say, how many times does 4 go into 24? 6 times. But what is this number? It's 24 hundredths, so my answer would be 6 hundredths. Yes, ma'am.
So when something I always want to get some done is when I see 2 4/10 divided by 40, I would just want to do like I have my little black hole, but on the inside, instead of having 2 4/10, I would just I would put 40. How do you know?
Because it says 2 4/10 divided by 40. So if it's the number being divided, it's the dividend. Whichever number comes first, that's what you're dividing. That goes inside the box. So look at your homework sheet. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of help with this. Look at your homework sheet. So on this we have 80 divided by 400. But remember, we can break it down. How would we break it down? 80 divided by, how do I get to 400? Huh? 100 times 4? So if you take 100 times 4, you have to do the opposite. So you're dividing now. This is inside your book. You're writing this right now on your homework page. Otherwise, you'll be staying in for a private tutor session tomorrow after school. If I have a number divided by 100, what do I need to do? There's no decimal, but where do I always have a decimal? Where do I always have a decimal? Jackson, do you know? Okay, since it's 80, Jackson says since it's 80, you would put it after the 0. It's an imaginary line, dot. Remember, kind of like the imaginary line, it's always there on the equator, but you don't see it. So then what do? Now I have 80 decimal divided by 100. What do? So if I move my decimal 2 places to the left, what's my number going to be? 80/100ths, or I could just drop it and make it 8. So it would be 8/10 divided by 4. This needs to be in your book. And I'm not going to give you that answer. You're going to figure it out on your own. You guys writing? It's going to be gone after MTSS. Snooze, you lose. Don't write the question marks. Your job is to fill in where the question mark is. So your assignment will be to do the whole homework sheet, and hopefully by the time you get to F, D, I would go down the left side or the right side first. Do the whole thing. The ones I didn't put up there should be pretty self-explanatory. Yes, ma'am. G? Yep. Yep, do the whole homework assignment. I'm gonna introduce you real fast to the next page, what you need to do on that, once everybody has this written down. Next page is pretty easy. Do we have it written? Got it written, people? Are we good? Are we good? Good, good, good. Yay? Okay, on your next page of your homework assignment, very easy. They give you a problem that looks like this. What's the difference between the top problem and the bottom problem? What's the difference? Bryce, what's the difference? Perfect. The top one is 10 times bigger, right? So what do you do when you divide by 10? Okay, you move the decimal to the left. But let's say that I have an answer just like this right now. But I didn't have to divide by 10 because it's just 8. So what would happen with my decimal? On this one, I divided by 10, so I moved the decimal one place to the left. But if I don't have to divide by 10, what would happen to my decimal? Perfect. They go one place back to the right. See how it works? So your answer would be 8 2/10.